You have a show that's back now after a long time. The line of what's funny, has it moved? Are there different things that make people laugh now than there was then? And do you feel that as a cast?
I think that because 20 years ago, when we started, the thing that made Will and Grace very specific was that it was provocative from the get-go. It addressed what was happening today in pop culture, in politics, and really pushed the boundaries. And I think because that was in the DNA of the show, coming back 11 and a half years later, everyone knew the voice of the show, everyone knew the characters, and so we didn't have to ask permission, we didn't have to apologize. They were like, oh, they're just doing what they always did.
Okay, he's a man, but he's aged into a lesbian.
Steven Tyler, John Voight, Newt Gingrich.
Yes. She's... Don't get me started.
Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yes. We want to love her, but she makes it impossible.
Caitlyn Jenner.
Of course. Rich Hostage.
Melania.
Beret.
Patty Hearst. Woo!
Obviously now with the state of the world, there is a lot more to comment on, and it feels like there's a lot more at stake than when we began. But I actually feel like we are literally just staying the course. My very first movie out of graduate school, A Walk in the Clouds, I was tricked into signing a nudity waiver by the producers, and they basically said, oh, the director just has a big ego. We can't because it's PG-13. We cannot show any, so if you sign it, nothing's gonna happen. And the day I showed up, they said, okay, this is your lingerie for the first part, and this is your nude scene. And I said, nude scene? And they're like, oh yeah. And the producers were there, and I went in, I was like, wait a minute, we talked on the phone, and you said that it wasn't gonna happen, is it PG-13? And they're like, not an international.
Oh my God.
No.
I'm so sorry that happened. That's awful.
You know, when I was on set and he was lifting up the thing and looking at me and throwing it down, just to look at me, to like, it was a power thing. And I said to him, you know, before we shot, I'm like, you know, I like to be prepared, you know, can you tell me like where the angles are? And he literally said, you are an actress. How dare you ask me to tell you what my shot is going to be? You are an actress, it is your job to get naked. And that's it. I was in LA, my one agent was in New York, and I didn't have the strength that Molly had, you know, and you call your agent and they're like, you could say no, but you'll be fired. You know, and I was getting paid scale. I was getting paid nothing, but it was my big break, you know, and I just...
If I were Sheila, I would eat him right now.
There's been a lot of sort of conversation around Roseanne specifically recently. Can you and should you be able to separate the art from the artist?
She made it clear from the beginning that this was her. She was a stand-up comic. Right. And she said, this is just me, I'm just being me. And so that's very different than saying, I'm creating a different character. And then when you have someone who is very outspoken on social media and says things that are incredibly racist.
Normalizing white supremacy essentially at its core, I feel.
And I think the problem is that you know, she is more right-wing than her character. And I think that's where it becomes, at least for me, very hard to separate the two.
Right. What is the most amusing feedback you've received trying out for a part?
I went in and I did my thing first time on camera, and I was like, I just killed it. And my agent calls me and says, okay, you didn't get it. It's like, uh-huh. She's like, they said you look like Kabuki.
What?
What are you doing with your makeup?
Oh my God.
And I was like, I'm doing theater makeup. And they were like, oh, no, the camera's right there. I was like, I do it for, they're like, she looked like she was 39 and I was 23. And they're like, she's got to go take a class.
Ironically, at 39, you look like 23. Joke's on them.
You will always be my sister.
Always.
Hi, I'm Frankie Shaw.
Hi, I'm Molly Shannon. I'm Debra Messing.
Thanks for watching The Hollywood Reporter.
The Hollywood Reporter on YouTube.